Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Lucky Wolf, and today I really want to dive into some of the niche picks, to some of the niche Pokemon, some of the maybe sleeper picks, if you will, that did well at the Louisville Regional. I am just going to go through a little bit about the regional, and then I just kind of want to briefly talk about these Pokemon, just because I really like Reg H. I really like Reg H. I think it gives you a lot of room to be creative, and honestly, there are quite a few niche picks that I think, that at least for me, personally, really surprised me. And so I just kind of want to talk about them a little bit, go into why I think they did well, what the meta might look like in the future, all that kind of good stuff. And so I just want to start a little bit with about Louisville Regional. So there were 753 players. It did take place last weekend. This video will hopefully be going up Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not really sure yet, but regardless, it will have been last weekend. 753 players in Masters, so a really good size tournament. I believe Baltimore was like 701 players maybe, so very comparable sizes, great big tours. Like, I'm just so excited to see VGC like really kind of have these huge tournaments and VGC get all this love and everything like that. So very exciting for me. And I do want to talk a little bit about some of the Pokemon that did well that maybe people weren't expecting, and by people I mean me, that I was not expecting to do as well. So I think we would be remiss if we started anywhere else besides JoeUX9 using Jumpluff. Jumpluff is a really cool option on a Sun team. Jumpluff does get Chlorophyll, which does increase Jumpluff speed in the Sun. So it gives you fast Tailwind, fast Encore, fast Sleep Powder, and then also an attacking move, or whatever you want to run for that fourth move. So I just think that is really cool. Having a fast Encore is really nice because your Encore is going to be really speedy, because if you're in Tailwind, that's one reason, and if your speed is doubled in the Sun, that's the other reason. But your Encore will be fast, however, it's not a Prankster Encore, so it can still affect Dark types. So let's say King Gambit goes for Swords Dance. You can Encore that even though they're a Dark type. Let's say that the Incineroar goes for Fake Out. You can Encore that even though they're a Dark type. So on and so forth. And some Pokemon even go Terra Dark to be able to avoid Prankster shenanigans. But because Jumpluff is just really fast, you can still affect the Dark type. So I just think we would be remiss if didn't mention Jumpluff first. But I will say, look at this top 8. Look at this top 8. We have Jumpluff, we have Exeggutor, and as a Psy-Spam enjoyer myself, I brought Espeon to Baltimore Regionals. Seeing this team get top 4 was really cool. Kudos to Parker for playing so well. We do see the Exeggutor, which isn't the most common Psy-Spam user, but can use Psy-Spam, but is another fast Sleep Powder mod. I think we're, second and fourth having fast Sleep Powder mons. I just think it shows that not a lot of people are prepared. Maybe people are more prepared for Amoonguss, so they have a kind of slower taunt to be able to get around the Amoonguss. However, these two mons, they just weren't equipped to be able to deal with that fast Sleep Powder. Additionally, we do see Hisuian Zoroark. That's another kind of niche pick. Like, that is so cool to be able to see. I think it really shows off that Hisuian Zoroark can absolutely work in an open team sheet best of 3 format. You can disguise your Hisuian Zoroark as something like your Ursaluna, so it looks like you're weak to fighting moves. However, you are immune to fighting moves. Then you just get to go for your big Hyper Voices, your big Shadow Balls, things like that. So I think that's another really cool pick that we saw do well. Like Parker having both Eggy and the Hisuian Zoroark, very cool. But a Pokemon I was so excited to see. I think Ceruledge has such a cool freaking design. So to see Ceruledge and Gastrodon get 5th, get top 8 at Louisville Regional was also very cool. And I think this Ceruledge set, I just think it was such a good meta pick. I really, really think it's such a good meta pick. I'll pull up some of these teams so that we can dive in a little bit further, which I will do a little bit later in the video. I did just want to shout that out, as well as the Gastrodon. I'm a huge fan of the Slug myself. I personally like Blue Slug. Let me know in the comments down below. Pink Slug, Blue Slug, or both. So that's another thing. Those are another two niche picks that I really wanted to point out. And now, we do see Volcarona. Also, Volcarona much, much less of a niche pick, but seeing Terra Fairy, Covert Cloak, Volcarona, I think that's a great answer into what I'm kind of calling, like, what I call, like, the Dortmund team. Is it here? I feel like it did well. Yeah. Here we go. So this is what I would call the Dortmund team. So I think Covert Cloak, Terra Fairy on the Volcarona is a great answer into this team. So very cool to see that kind of adjustment. But let's go back up. Let's go back up a little bit. We see Como as well, another very cool pick. And then Charizard. And then we see the Choice Scarf Charizard on a hard Trick Room team. Again, I'm gonna look at the teams, I'm gonna get a little bit more into that a little bit later in the video, but I really do want to give the Charizard a shout. Very, very cool pick. And then not even to round out the day, because there are... Sorry, that's my follow sound? That's my follow sound over on Twitch. I don't think that the alert played. I had to make sure that I wasn't live, but thank you very much for the follow over on my stream. I appreciate it. I'll link my stream in the description down below. You're amazing. Thank you for the follow when I'm not even live. Wild. And back to the video. So there's a couple more Pokemon I do want to point out. So just talked about the Charizard, but I really want to talk about, so we have the Empoleon. We have Empoleon here. We have Pledges. We have Pledges just in general getting 22nd, getting top 24. Which I think is really, really cool. And I will talk about the Pledges a little bit more later, but I think I accidentally skipped Yanmega. Yanmega getting top 8, another very, very cool pick, and the Archaludon is the Archaludon is not a niche pick, to be clear. That is not a niche pick. However, Howlwolf ran it. I don't think we've really seen Archies run this way yet in Reg H. So I do want to touch on that a little bit as well. But first and foremost, I am going to jump into Marco's team. Okay, so starting with Marco's team, I really want to talk about this Ceruledge set. I think the Ceruledge set is really, really cool. So we do have the Bitterblade Protect Bulk Up Shadow Sneak. So why I think this is such a good call into the meta is we also see Coaching Sneasler. No Protect, just Coaching. We also see the Coaching Sneasler. So if your opponent has a passive lead or a passive turn, you can really take advantage by clicking something like the Coaching and the Bulk Up, and then suddenly your Ceruledge is +2/+2/+2 defense, +2 attack, and you have the leftovers to make sure you get some health back. But additionally, the 2 attacking moves you have access to on this Ceruledge are the Shadow Sneak. So even though Ceruledge isn't fast, obviously the Shadow Sneak bypasses the speed tiers by being a priority move, so that can be absolutely fantastic. You can kind of like finish them on off, or you can click Shadow Sneak and then click a fast Dire Claw, a fast Close Combat with your Sneasler to KO Pokemon. Additionally, Ceruledge does have a move. The move is Bitter Blade, and Bitter Blade is a fire-type move that does damage but also heals your HP. So having a setup Pokemon, this is similar to Annihilate, right? Having a setup Pokemon that can heal itself up, you do not have to rely on Heal Pulse, you do not have to rely on Pollen Puff, you do not have to rely on, let's say, a Cynosure, like Hospitality switching in. You are healing yourself up with your Bitter Blade, you're getting damage, you're healing yourself up, and you're healing yourself up with leftovers, while still being bulked up. So you just become a problem. If your opponent doesn't deal with you quickly, you're going to be plus defense, you're going to be plus attack, and you're going to be getting more and more health back every single turn. So I just wanted to point out that set. Additionally, you do have the Rillaboom here. And the Rillaboom with its terrain can also give you even more healing. So that means every turn, even if you're not clicking Bitter Blade, every single turn you're getting your leftovers and you're getting grassy terrain. Which you just make the Ceruledge a raid boss. And so I do also want to touch on this Gastrodon, right? Gastrodon is great to be able to protect the Ceruledge a little bit. You can protect the Ceruledge from water type moves. Additionally, the Ceruledge is Terra Grass so that you can resist the water moves as well. But the other cool thing is we see the Clear Smog here. We see the Clear Smog here, and the Clear Smog's really nice. You can Clear Smog Dondozo. You can Clear Smog other Mons that want to set up, but it's not going to affect your Ceruledge's setup, right? So let's say you are setting up with your Ceruledge, you bring in your Gastrodon, you can Clear Smog the other team, but unlike Haze, it is a targeted move, right? So you can target that move and it doesn't get rid of your Ceruledge boosts. So I just kind of wanted to point out some really cool things about this team. Additionally, I think AV King Gambit with coaching Sneasler is incredible, right? You have AV to protect you on the special side, and then you have coaching to protect you on the physical side. And much like the Ceruledge that can get off some big shadow sneaks, after a coaching, like, you have so much priority. After a coaching, you have +1 Sucker Punch. That's doing damage. That is absolutely doing damage. You can have +1 Grassy Glide. You can have +1 Extreme Speed. Like, this team is just so cool, kind of built around getting that coaching off and then saying speed tiers who? You know, like, I'll go for my priority moves, and then if you're focusing down that Mon, you better be careful, because Ceruledge is setting up on you. So I really just kind of wanted to touch on this team. I do believe Marco did release a rental for this team. I think I saw that, so definitely expect that on the channel at some point, probably later this week or sometime next week. So I really did just want to touch on this team. And I did talk about the Charizard, and I did say I would touch on the Charizard a little bit more, so I really do want to talk about the Charizard as well. So we see a pretty hard Trick Room team here, right? We got the Indeedee, we got the Ursaluna, we got the Gallade, we got the Hat, we got the Torkoal. All the hallmarks of a hard Trick Room team. However, then you are hit with this Choice Scarf Charizard. And I just think this is such a cool call, right? So your opponent, it's open team sheet, you know, your opponent knows, you give them your team sheet, your opponent knows what they're seeing. They're like, okay, this is a Trick Room team. So they're gonna kind of maybe lead their slower Trick Room Mons, maybe their Trick Room answer, the classic Trick Room answer, is an Amoonguss, right? So you say, okay, you know, you're gonna lead with your slower Trick Room Mons. I am gonna lead my Charizard, and I can lead Indeedee, I can swap in my Torkoal, or if you don't have weather, like, I'm just leading Charizard Torkoal, and I'm just gonna absolutely blow massive holes through your team. Good luck. Because you have, so just to cover all of the damage modifiers, right? You are a Charizard. You have Solar Power. Solar Power, Terra Fire, In the Sun, Heat Wave, Overheat. So if your opponent thinks, oh, okay, I know how to deal with this, I have Wide Guard, you just click the even more powerful Overheat button. And unlike something like the Eruption, Charizard doesn't care about taking damage. Like, let's say they want to Sucker Punch you or something like that. Let's say they want to Sucker Punch you. That doesn't matter. That's not affecting, as long as you're alive, that's not affecting your damage output. So you're just going to pump out this massive amount of damage. And additionally, you know, you might see this team, you might see the Indeedee, the Hat, and you might think, okay, well, I'm going to bring my Dark type. You know, I'll bring my King Gambit. King Gambit does not want to face this down. King Gambit does not want to face this down. And a really cool play that you can go for, right? Let's say they don't have their own weather. So you go for Charizard, and you go for Torkoal. That's what you lead. And not very much is going to be outspeeding you, right? So you can, if you think, oh, they want to fake me out, they want to click Prankster, Thunder Wave, they want to click Terra Dark, Helping Hand, Black Glasses, Sucker Punch to KO me. No, they don't. You already have your Sun up, so you just swap in your Indeedee. You just get your massive damage off, and then next turn you can choose, okay, do I want to click, if Charizard's still alive, do I want to click Follow Me? Do I want to click Helping Hand? Do I want to click Trick Room? And then set up for a little sweep from Ursaluna, or from the Torkoal, or from the Hat. I just think that this team really has a lot of different ways that it can play, and I think clearly teams were not ready for just really fast, really strong fire type spread damage. So I really wanted to point out kind of how this team plays, and just that I think the Scarf Charizard was an absolutely fantastic call. And you know what we gotta talk about? You know what we gotta talk about next? We gotta talk about Eggy. We gotta talk about Eggy. I will say, we saw Psy Spam do very well. We saw Psy Spam do very, very well at Louisville. This Psy Spam team did get, Parker got 4th, right? Yep, Parker got 4th with Exeggutor. So it's Chlorophyll Exeggutor. We have Trick Room, Expanding Force, Energy Ball, and Sleep Powder. So a very cool Expanding Force user. It's an Expanding Force user that can also set its own Trick Room, that can also click the Sleep Powder button, which I do think is very, very handy. And then we do see Choice Specs. Choice Specs Hisuian Zoroark. So you can dress your Zoroark up like your Ursaluna, and then just go for a massive Stellar Terra Hyper Voice, Flamethrower, or Shadow Ball, or even the Terra Blast. So I really just wanted to point this out. I just really wanted to point this out as well. I think that this is another really cool team. It's kind of cool to see some other Psy Spam enjoyers and different Psy Spam mons kind of get some love. You know, it's not just Hat, and it's not just Armarouge anymore. So that's very, very cool. I definitely did want to point that out. Additionally, where are you? Yeah, here we are. I said I'd talk about pledges. And I really think very kind of similarly to like Ceruledge and Gastrodon and Scarf Charizard in Sun. I just don't think people were ready to be facing down Pledges. I think Pledges is honestly criminally underexplored right now, and I'm so happy to see Pledges do well. So you can set up Pledges, and it can set up a swamp on your opponent's side of the field, which quarters their speed. It was recently changed, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below, but very heavily decreases their speed. This just lets you get absolutely massive damage with your Polt, absolutely massive damage with your Blaziken, and good damage with the Rillaboom, and just it's very cool to see the Empoleon as well, rockin' the competitive Water Pledge, Yawn, Ice Beam Protect, all that kind of good stuff. So I really just wanted to point out the Pledges as well. Another team I really hope a rental is released for, because Pledges I have not explored, and I would absolutely love to at some point. But I do kind of think that's what I wanted to say about the Louisville Regional. We got to see some very, very cool games as well. I'm really looking forward to the Regional this weekend in France. And I have just been enjoying Reg H so much. Please let me know in the comments down below twofold. I actually have two questions, twofold. Pink Gastrodon, blue Gastrodon, both Gastrodons. But I also want to know, what is a Pokemon you think is underexplored right now and you think is going to do well in Reg H? We had some real sleeper picks have a fantastic showing, and it really does make my heart happy. And oh my gosh, I totally forgot to touch on the Metagross as well. Metagross, another really cool sleeper pick. Como-O, another really cool sleeper. And there's just so many Pokemon that I think did well. And it's just seeing these top cut mons make me very, very, very happy. But I'm going to call it there for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate that. If you did enjoy this content at any time, please feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not, feel free to do something none of that. And I hope everybody has an absolutely amazing rest of their day. Okay, that's it for me.